Okay, let's see what we've got in the garden today. We're going to go through a lot of plants and share the Fibonacci Spiral and the Pinecone design inside all plants, and that they are all electromagnetism and electrically driven. I might take a few minutes to get into this, but you know, that's just the way it goes. Now this stem, as you can see, is comprised of a left hand side and a right hand side, clockwise and counterclockwise, which come together in a vortex here, in a vortex here, and a double helix this way and this way. Now this one leaf has two fronds on it, or whatever you would want to call these, a waveform, and there's three, 1, 2, 3 coming up, and then you get another 3. So these form a 6-pointed star. And at the top of this we get the Pinecone design, which is extremely obvious to be a Fibonacci spiral, which is coming up like this way, counterclockwise. But if we look from this direction, it's actually travelling clockwise, and that's because this is clockwise energy out. Coming down would be counterclockwise, which is also clockwise up, which is a bit weird, but that's just the way it works. So this has the Fibonacci spiral within it, the same as the Pinecone that my dog ate, so never mind. But that's the Pinecone design. Alright, well let's see if we can't find a Fibonacci spiral everywhere. Alright, well we've got this plant here, which is exactly the same as this plant, just a different DNA code frequency variation. The leaves, as you can see, I'm pretty sure if I measure that, that would be 137.5 degrees, which is energy travel. These ones are at 180, this one's trying to turn, but most of them are in line. And you have 2 at the top, which is a double helix waveform, which forms 2 lightning bolts as it splits, and then becomes 2 waveforms while the main energy bolt carries on through. Grass, doing the same thing. I'm going to show you what I'm about to do with another plant around the other side of the house, but basically if I pull all this up, it makes the Pinecone, but it falls like this due to DNA coded frequency. Finn, come here. Good girl. So that is also a Pinecone design, which I'm going to show you with another grass because it all links up. I'll show you that in a bit. Here's another one, Fibonacci spiral pattern. What are these leaves doing? Now these leaves are the same as the father and the son. Shame I can't get a close-up, but there's no zoom control on this, which is why I asked for donations for a H5 Pro camera, which means I can fit any lens on it. So if anybody wants to donate so I can get a close-up zoom camera, that would be great. But what's happening in here is the father-son relationship. You have 2 leaves in opposition, and if we could get in closer, which I can't, you would see that one is wrapped around the other. You would see that it is the father and the son in the bosom position. And now I'm out of battery. Alright, come back with another battery. Okay, so we were right here. So yeah, that is the father and the son in the bosom position, facing each other, one heart wrapped around another heart, which is one double helix wrapped around another double helix in the W configuration. What else we got here? Again, we've got same as magnet flow with an inertial crossover line and then a Fibonacci spiral. All of these again, these are facing each other but turning in a spiral, a Fibonacci spiral. Fibonacci, Now, this is an interesting one, and you have to think about it how I showed the vine, with your fingers as the flare and your thumb as electricity. Now, how do I know that the thumb is electricity? Well, there's a pulse right here. Do I have a pulse in my fingers? Not really. Do I have a pulse in my thumb? Yes, I do, because they say never take a pulse with your thumb on somebody else to see if they're alive, because your thumb has a pulse. That means the energy is going that way. This is a byproduct of the energy travel, the pulse of energy that is in my thumb. So if we look at this, we have my arm coming up. This is my arm. These are the electrical vortices, and this is the electrical flare. So you have electricity and electromagnetism stemming from an energy bolt coming out of the ground. After energy has gone into the ground is now radiating. It travels through the inertial plane into this magnet, because all matter is magnetic. All matter focuses energy into a pinch point, and DNA code directs it. This is the arm. This is the electrical thumb, so to speak, and this is the electrical flare. Exactly the same configuration, because I can put my thumb into the middle there around a cup. I can do whatever I want with it. This is DNA coded to look like that. This is DNA coded to look like this. But they both work in the same principle. Energy this way, electricity, electromagnetism, after passing through an inertial plane right here. What else is there? Oh yeah. There's this grass here, and this does the same as those other leaves that I pulled up. They all stay together because it's another pine cone. But in reality, they're like that. So this is another pine cone. As you can see, it's all stuck together because I just smoothed it together. It shouldn't stay like that, because it should look like that. But it is a pine cone, as seen by this one, which is still staying together just for you viewers. It's a pine cone design. Now the thing about electrical levels is, this plant is storing energy and starts to radiate it. And as soon as it gets to a certain electrical height, every leaf is at an electrical height because it's forming a dome of magnetism. When it gets to the top, like the one over there that I showed you, with the pine cone on top, that pine cone is activated by stored energy, which means once it gets to a certain height, the electrical energy is then pushed through and activates the DNA code which makes the flower or the pine cone, and it's due to stored energy activating the code. Basically, every single one of these expulsions of energy, or impulsions of energy, could be either clockwise or counterclockwise. This is a Lorentz force ejection caused by a Lorentz force contraction. Now, energy builds up via the Lorentz force in rings, and then there is always, once it reaches maximum capacity, there is a discharge, and the discharge is the waveform. This is exactly the same as a woman having a baby. The baby is the energy stored within the woman. The baby gets bigger and bigger and absorbs more energy until the baby is giving energy back to the mother after 9 months. This then causes the muscles within the uterus to start to contract. They store energy, they contract. These are Lorentz electrical contractions, until eventually the energy stored up builds up and there is a Lorentz force ejection of energy and matter, a baby. That's exactly what's happening here. It's exactly the same principle. Stored energy reaches capacity, forces a Lorentz effect ejection of matter, a baby or a leaf, because these are electromagnetic flares, and I say electro because they're also electrical. Electricity and electromagnetism through everything is a cascade. This may well be an electromagnetic flare, but it contains electricity because it's got a vortex down the middle with a waveform either side. Oh, my knees. Let's have a check out of these leaves. Don't know what kind of planet it is, but again, I've said that each side of a leaf you've got electrical bolt down the middle, electrical bolts coming off, flares in between, all made of electricity and electromagnetism. Again, you can't quite see this, I don't believe, but each of these tiny little leaves is a double helix, and they're either coiled into each other like that, or they're coiled facing each other like two fists, or they are one inside the other. These appear to be rolled one inside the one leaf is going that way, and then one leaf comes back out and goes that way and joins the bolt. So one comes in, rolls like that, another one comes in, but it rolls like that. So it's just like a rolled up piece of paper. It's not a double helix which goes that way and then that way. That happens on other leaves. That's what's happening with this grass leaf. And you can find a small one, but they're all wrapped inside one another, so I can't demonstrate that. This again is the Pinecone, can't be mistaken. These are the flower of life, the tree of life. That's why it is that shape. And I think that's about everything for the front garden. Yeah, that's about it for today. This is obviously new growth of leaves on here. What are these guys doing? They are connected together in there, but I can't get close enough to show you. And the flowers are spheres made from an Ouroboros sphere of wave petals. That's why they have petals which form a sphere, which shows that a sphere cannot be created naturally. It has to be created by interlinking, overlapping waveforms. And there's a fly. So, what with everything being a Fibonacci spiral, and a Fibonacci spiral, and a Pinecone design based upon the Fibonacci sequence, everything is made the same. Everything has electrical bolts coming out of it and flares. There was one other thing I wanted to say. How does lightning work? Lightning shoots down an electrical bolt and fires out a flare on either side of the inertial plane. Electricity going this way from the atmosphere fires out an electrical flare upwards, which is this as it passes through the inertial plane, and it comes from clockwise energy down, pushes matter up, turns to counterclockwise, pushes energy down. Energy's going that way and pushing matter that way, but energy's coming in this way and pulling matter that way, clockwise to counterclockwise, then into the ground. So there is always a reaction, and a flower is the same as an electrical strike. Lightning down, Sprite up, directly through an inertial plane. And I think that's it for today. So what that means is, when there's an electrical strike, energy is in the inertial line here. Then there is a perpendicular change. I can't kind of hold my hand up the other way. On left hand. Yeah, so you get electricity down because energy is moving this way along the inertial plane, which is in a supposed funnel of energy in the cloud line. Electricity goes down. I mean, this one's, my little finger's the main one. It goes up. The flare shoots upwards. The electricity bolt goes downwards, but it's all because the energy that created the downward strike is contained within the inertial plane and is traveling horizontal. Wave energy travels horizontal, vortex energy travels vertical. So you have waveform, lightning strike. But I can't spread my hands wide enough because I'm DNA shaped to have my hands like this. But this should be up in the air and that should be straight down, same as this. Energy comes in and down out and up. I know it seems a little complicated, but this is all free flow, and I'm just saying what God's saying. And again, it comes down to the vine, which has a flare on one side and a lightning bolt on the other. And all vines are seeking out electrical lines. That's why they are shaped and curly. They don't just curl for no reason. They are curling because they are following EM field electrical lines. And then that, of course, is the flare, which of course is your hand doing this with a lightning bolt, main energy, perpendicular to the original source. And then it turns sideways like that. Alright, I think that'll do for today. Thanks very much. This is the Pinecone, and this is the shape of the symbol of the Vatican, Pinecone, which means God's power. And this is all going upwards, clockwise. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ, and I'm telling you all the things he told me and showed me. Thanks a lot. Bye.